Beautiful love.
It's the 31st of August 2020 and it's great to be at one with the world. I'm just heading towards the viaduct in Plym Bridge, heading towards Clearbrook, where I'm going to do some exploring in areas I was looking around a few days ago. So it's going to be a nice day. The autumn weather is coming in quite quick, it's getting cooler suddenly, but it's a nice day anyway, so let's see where we go. And with it being Bank Holiday Monday, everybody's out on the bikes and it's pretty crazy here, very busy when you're trying to keep your social distance. And the government wants to tax bikes, they must be nuts. Beep beep. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I think a government that wants to tax things that make people healthy wants their heads examining. So my own bike is broken bike, so I'm using this smaller bike, which is hard work. It's an old rally. So today will be an easy day, just walking and cycling on the less hilly areas, no rush at all. I need to burn off too much energy today. So it's all good. When you go through pine forests like this, you could be anywhere in the world. Canada, the Rockies. Look at that woodland over there, or the forest. The world's so much beauty, with so much beauty, and politics that's so depressing and angry. Who needs the news and the politicians? It's all about making money, not about people. And what gives people the incentive to just want to make money? Because they're going to die at some stage anyway, and money's no use to them then. So they might as well just enjoy life instead. And try and give the same sort of lifestyles to everybody, so that everybody can enjoy themselves and travel and discover the world. Why should they be able to? It's all financially based. Anyway, and another thought really, the biggest threat to people with the coronavirus is people being hooked on toxins like alcohol and drugs, where they all socialise and think it's trendy to be with each other because they're near that company. And it's all about making money for the establishment of the countries where people are hooked on substances and earning, taking in lots of money. Keeping the economies going is more important than the well-being of people, as we're seeing in the UK at the moment. This should be the viaduct just before Bickley Barracks, and then to the right should be Shaw Prior and the church and the village pub. But I don't drink anyway. Like I said, it's a toxin that people are hooked on, and billions of pounds and dollars goes into the economy having people hooked on toxins and being zombified. So Shaw Prior over back there, and Bickley Barracks over to the left with the church. Morning. Out of Plym Bridge and on the main Dartmoor coastal path, cycle route, and quite often during the week you get a nice smell of peppermint in the woods from the Wrigley Spearmint factory at the top of the hill. There's deer around, and they tend, during the rutting season, they can be seen around the Wrigley Spearmint factory apparently. I've seen them occasionally down on this track as well, at night, in the evening, when there's nobody around. Like a motorway here today. About 10 years ago, you could come along this track and hardly see anybody all day. Now everybody wants to be outdoors, especially after the corona outbreak. Everybody wants to be at one with nature and get exercise. So that's Shaw Prior in the distance. And we're heading towards Dartmoor now. Going through the railway tunnel. I spent 5 years on the RF Valley Mountain Rescue team full time, with only 5 full-time members on the team, supporting a backup team of volunteers of 32 members. You're always having the mickey taken out of you, or me, and because they were envious that I could be full-time. and we had to look after, two of us had to look after 5 Land Rovers and a Bedford lorry and have them on call 24 hours a day. And so rather than getting into arguments over things with other people, and in fact you all had to get on anyway, it was easier to prove myself in my fitness, so I was super fit in those days. Probably got as fit as I could be without doing any serious harm to myself. Doing marathons and did the Snowdon horseshoe in 1 hour 56 with a team of 2 on the cycle ride, on the cycle race, which was about, you'd take around Snowdon, you'd drill so many holes in it to make it as light as possible. You wouldn't need to in these days because you'd have fibre bikes. And then you'd reassemble it to go over the finishing post at the end. And then I did the a peak race in Snowdon where I got hypothermia and I was helped up to the summit by the team. And I learned then that when you're working as a team, you're only as fast as the slowest member of the team. And it's great working with a dynamic team, which I find hard, or I found hard after I left the Air Force, because most people aren't motivated or driven, especially in a lot of areas in the UK. So I found myself doing a lot by myself, which is not what I want, but I want to be with the right people. And I don't drink. I've drunk, no hero, because I've drunk to try and fit in and to escape my own feelings, but it doesn't achieve anything. And when people drink alcohol, they think it's a relaxing agent. It isn't. It just nullifies the brain and the body into thinking that they're relaxing. So I'd rather be switched on and healthy and be at one with the real world and try and use every day constructively. I think if you looked into the science of alcohol and drugs, you'd find that they do more damage than good. Most people are locked up in prisons in the UK because of alcohol and substance abuse than anything else, yet there's so much money going into the economy that the government's turned a blind eye to it, make it acceptable, and it also puts a massive burden on the National Health Service. Just love being out in the country. So let's have a turn of the camera again. So when I was mountain rescue, I managed to get on 2 fantastic expeditions for life experience second to none. One was to climb Mount Rainier between the Mount St. Helens eruptions in Washington, and we flew over Mount St. Helens in a stretched American Hercules with army recruits from the American Army in the aircraft. And then we climbed Mount Rainier, and we were hosted by Washington Rescue Services. And then also had the rocket experience over there as well. I just love to escape, but not necessarily by myself. I like to be with other people as well. But like I said, in a society or in an area of the country where everything's based around heavy drinking, it's very hard to do that. Even in the Air Force, when I was mountain rescue, I didn't drink, where the troops did, and when I did, it's very occasional. I used to make sure I was the evening driver, so I could stay sober. Then I'd get some money. Then I'd invest the money, and I invested it into premium bonds, and I used to win money through the government then as well, which is really good. Then another expedition I went on was to the French Pyrenees. We took 2 officers with us from Aria Valley, and they were useless. They just went off skiving in the local village in Lucien, I think it was, instead of coming on the expedition. So we had to carry all their goods. And when you're in an expedition, you make allowances for everybody to work together. So the fact that these 2 idiots went off into the village and just skived, having the time of their life, sitting in a pub isn't the time of your life. Being on the hill is the time of your life. They went off skiving, and we had a great time achieving something. And then they met up at the end of the expedition and upset the head of mountain rescue, or the officer that was leading mountain rescue at the time, a guy called Chris. I won't go into any more details on that. Nice name, Chris. And so, being in the extreme side of life, I've seen so much going on. And then I was a VIP driver working for NATO for 3 years in Brussels as well. That's an eye-opener about world politics and how people are treated. And I'm not into politics in any way at all, but I am when it comes to the way people are treated on humanitarian grounds. 2020, the Prime Minister is Boris Johnson, and Boris Johnson keeps using Churchill as an example on how to run a country. Now, Churchill, from what I can gather, was a bottle of whiskey a day alcoholic. And how can a brain function when it's full of whiskey constantly and a manic depressive? And I'm quite convinced that the reason the Second World War was run by the British is because it was so irrational. Other countries couldn't see what was going to happen next, and it was just by sheer luck that everything fitted into place for Churchill. And then when you have the British Bulldog as an emblem, which is a thuggish, aggressive way of doing things, then that had a knock-on effect into the way societies run in the UK. And when I went abroad and lived abroad for 3 years, all I saw were Brits making fools of themselves and being self-opinionated. Nigel Farage and the Brexiteers, who are not just racist but sexist as well. And he looks like a thug in his face. You can see he looks like that aggressive troublemaker, the sort of person you'd see in the school playground being the school bully. And he's never happier than when he's stirring everybody up. And if that's the way a country is to be run, it's not very good at all. It's not very good for the social structure of the UK. And the way they behaved in the EU Parliament when they said their goodbye was childish and very embarrassing to watch. And that's why it's good to escape into the country, get away from all the madness of politics, where people are in a world of their own and being very opinionated on to what other people should be doing. When the world in which you live in becomes too much to bear, you're going to find me out in the country. Out in the country, yeah. Right. So this is the rail tunnel now, and officially the end of Plym Bridge and the opening off onto Dartmoor, not too far from Clearbrook. And I'll sing my tunnel song. Day-o, day-o, daylight come and I want to go home. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot, the one. Daylight come and I wanna go home. Someone's gonna give me a great big banana. Daylight come and I want to go home. Oh, I can hear music. Oh. Keep to your left, that's it. Cheers. That's the tunnel done, a great big landmark. So now we're going to head out onto the road and head to Clearbrook. It's only about 10-15 miles away from here. And then we're going to swing right at Clearbrook, which is probably going west, and try and get to some of the falls maybe. Never done it, seen them, I went across them the other day. Me either. So see where we go.